one that can see.
Where there's thunder, there's lightning. John Nada. I wanted to speak a little bit today about the early opening of the eyes and eventual movement towards Mgtow for me. Back in about 2005 or so, I went through a pretty deep, heavy depression. And this was a period of time where I believe it was the darkest period of my life and still kind of remains so to this day. And a large majority of that was due to a particular relationship I had at the time that didn't work out. And as a result of that, I, kind of delved into the online dating world, which at that time, I guess had been around for a while, but to me was new and I think was still somewhat of a new phenomenon for a lot of people. And what I couldn't understand at that time, because I didn't have the knowledge and I didn't have the awakening that I would eventually undergo, what I didn't understand is why I got so few responses, if any. And it was particularly hard at that time because I limited myself to a certain type of girl. They had to be Christian, because at that time I was not only very blue pilled, but very Christian as well. And so, I'd already kind of limited myself to the types of women that I was, would have pursued. But in all that, like, I noticed that I got very little responses, if any. And out of all that, I did end up going on it. It was one date with a girl. It was the first time I'd ever met anybody offline. And I don't guess it was really a date. We ended up meeting up at the Barnes and Noble and talked a little bit. And then we ended up meeting up another time. But I ended up making her mad, I think, because like we had planned we were going to meet up somewhere, but I'd already kind of gathered that she wasn't all that interested in me. So I kind of lingered a little bit with my buddies that particular day and wasn't in any rush to really be on time or anything. I think that made her mad. And, as this is, the story with a lot of people, it ended up going nowhere. And so, off and on for a few years, I was on online dating. And since then, I have been on it in the past, in the more recent past, and have actually had one or two okay experiences out of it. But I guess really in the long run, like the reality of it is that it's just more negative and harm than it is anything good. And we know all the reasons behind why it doesn't work for guys, and I don't really need to go into all that. Just simply to say that at that time I had no idea, and it really wasn't until, like I said, the winter of 2013 that I really started putting the pieces together. And it was in my time in the Army, the first time that I'd ever been to a strip club. And there was something about it that appealed to me. This whole idea that if I just had some ones, I could get female validation immediately. If I just had these ones or this money or whatever, I could get any girl in the place to be interested and give me attention. But little by little, the appeal of it, the novelty of it wore off for me, because it was this realization of these people don't really care about me. They're not really interested in me. They're just interested in, my resources or the money or whatever it is that, I can do for them financially or resource wise. And so it became one of these things where little by little, the guys would decide, hey, let's, we would go to our favorite place, which was called Mustangs, right outside Post, and usually pre-gamed beforehand or whatever the case may be. But there were a lot of times I went there and hadn't had very much to drink at all, if any. And we would play pool, and there would just be this like seething underneath. And I remember talking to a buddy about it, and he was kind of like-minded with the thing the same way I was. And it was just hard to explain this whole idea that it's all fake, it's all a put on, it's all a show. And it just really became a thing where I just ended up ending the night just pissed off at just the fakery of it all. and realizing and putting two and two together that that was a lot of women, but still at the time I still kind of had this belief that there was maybe a unicorn or a narwhal or something of that nature. And it really wasn't until I dated a few more girls and had a few more experiences that I realized that, for the sake of argument, let's say there is no narwhal, and if there was, the possibility of finding one is so functionally impossible that there may as well not exist one at all. And so that was kind of the realization that this wasn't just a certain type of woman, but that this was potentially and conceivably every woman. And so that led me to my next thought. And I read an article not too long ago. It was probably posted today or yesterday. A guy was kind of going over basically the aftermath of a 5-year relationship with a girl that he had lived with. This is what he got after 5 years of a long-term relationship. And it's just this knowledge and, realization and actually having experienced such of the destructiveness of a woman in your life. And it's just kind of funny. We're always told that behind every successful man is a woman, which I think I've maybe mentioned this before, but every success that I've had in my life has either been due in part to my hard work or, hard work plus, help from family. But I've never had a woman stand by me long enough for her to be able to say that she had any credit or hand in that. It's always after the success is completed. It's always after the goal has been secured that the women come out of the woodwork and all of a sudden you're good enough to talk to again. But just the sheer destructiveness of a woman in your life in any capacity. I mean, even just, even a short-term relationship, because they do so much to create a tumult and tsunami of drama and all this, that even a small bit of exposure to them is, it just creates this catastrophic shockwave effect. They always are trying to stir some drama up or trying to drain you of some resource. And it simply got to the point where I just feel like the best investment that you can make is one of self-investment. And yet so many guys are out here toiling away, spending their lives trying to please this girl or that girl or maintain this relationship or that relationship, expending not only resources, not only money and time, but just an emotional expenditure. And guys, I'm just at the point now where I believe probably many of you are, where I'm exhausted. And the thought of being in a relationship or the thought of relationships from the past is just simply tiring and exhausting. And I have more peace and more peace of mind, but just peace in general, going my own way and doing my own thing and not really worrying about having to ask for permission or ask anyone else what they think about this or that, or what, whether or not I should buy this or whether or not I, should save money up for this, or because that's the thing is it's just a constant outpouring of resources, money, time, energy. You have to constantly entertain. You have to constantly maintain the novelty. You have to, constantly one up yourselves. It's got to be a whirlwind adventure constantly. Otherwise, women will get bored and they'll, branch swing somewhere else, which is what they'll eventually do anyway. And so it's just kind of this thing. I spoke with a friend of mine earlier, and he was saying, well, I'll catch up with you. I'm going out to meet this girl, and I guess it's a girl he's been talking to for a while. But I mean, I still get numbers here and there. I still talk to women here and there, but it's just impossible to really get excited about anything because at the end of the day, it's going to be the same thing that it's always been. Maybe they'll be interested and they're interested for a while and then they lose interest, or maybe they'll be interested and you'll start a relationship with them, and it may go along for a while, but in the end you feel like you put more effort into things than they do, and you feel like the return on investment is a lot smaller than what you're putting in, and so it becomes an unfulfilling thing either way. And I just, for my friend, I didn't say anything, but I know that here in a week or two or a month, he's going to be upset again about, yet another situation that didn't work out, because he is yet to put two and two together. He's still fighting against what he knows to be the truth. And, it's one of those things where Mgtow is one of those things that our fathers didn't know about and our mothers neglected to tell us about. And it's, as I've said before, I mean, I wouldn't believe it if somebody told me the truth. It has to be experienced. And it's just interesting because it's not an all at once realization or an all at once revelation, but it's incremental. It is progressive in its revealment, until all of a sudden one day you realize that this is the way things are and this is the way they've always been, and there's not a thing I can do about it. So why worry? Why be concerned? And again, it goes back to that self-investment thing. What the most important thing is to find the things that give you meaning and value in your life and pursue those things. Don't worry about what somebody else thinks. Don't worry about what society thinks, and certainly don't worry about what women think. Because at the end of the day, it's you and you alone that are going to bring meaning to your life. And I think the sooner people realize that, the sooner the anxiety will melt away and the peace will come flowing in. That it's up to them and them alone. Well, thanks for the time that you've given me today, and that'll be the Days of Thunder for today. Till next time, free men you are to go your own way, and free men you must remain.